Sawubona mbukeli, sikwamukele kuhlelo oluthanda kakhulu Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right. Simlethela lona la kumamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Sisakaza sikhathi singe futhi nalapha ku SABC le high as well as SABC Plus. Uhleli noMangqolosi uAlisha uNhlanhla kaJali. Mbukeli yikho nje ngithi ke ungasithola noma ikuphi. Khipha nje wena umakhala ekhukhwini wakho ungene shiqe ku SABC Plus app and immediately tune in. Mbukeli ke udabala namhlanje sithi njengoba phela sekusondele amaholidi okuphela konyaka lapho phela sihamba lapha nalapha sithenga lokho naloku kumtitilizo nje. Khumbula phela ukuthi lesi futhi isikhathi lapho phela nezigebengu zibheke njo ngamehlo abovu ukuthi imali yakho zizoyintshontsha kanjani. Yes mbukele, it is this particular time of the year when criminals also step up their game, especially on cyber scams. Asingene shiqe udabeni leta namhlanje. Sanibonani. As South Africans head into the busy festive shopping season, criminals are also preparing and they're getting smarter, from tap-and-go card theft to fake apps, mobile hacking hacks, as well as online scams disguised as unbelievable deals. Online consumers are now facing a new wave of digital fraud just when spending and distractions are at their highest. Yebo mbukeli, kulesi siphithiphithi samaholidi lapho phela igebengu zibheke iphakethe lakho zisebenzisa imikhonyovu yedigital noma iinternet ukuthi phela zikuthathele imali. Ake sizwe nanku umbike sudidiyelo nobathembu Zanzi.
Alfika ngaligalelekile ixesha leziyunguma zeholide zehlobo kwaye oko kuthetha ukuba inkcitho yabathengi iza kunyuka, nanjengoko ivenkile nezinye indawo zorhwebo ziza kube zinezisulu zamaxabiso ajonge ukutsala abathengi kweziholide. Kwaye nezikrelemnqa zilijonge ngamehlo abomvu elixesha, nanjengoko zijonge ukuloba abathengi ngezisulu zomgunyathi zisebenzisa amaqonga onxibelelwano lamaxesha, i-SMS, i-email neminxeba.
Umthengi, you need to secure or use secure and trusted platforms. Only transact guma website are legit and avoid clicking guma links as through ama SMS, through ama WhatsApp or even emails. Avoid those.
I-ofisi kanozikhalazo ojongene nempahla nenkonzo ezithengwa ngabathengi, Consumer Goods and Services Ombud, ithi ezinye zentengiso yenkohliso ezivamileyo ngelixesha lezisulu neziyunguma zintengiso zendawo zokuchitha iholide nezinye indawo ezixatyisiweyo kodwa izezenkohliso, kwaneentengiso zamatikiti enqwelomoya amaxabiso aphantsi kakhulu kodwa engiwomgunyathi.
What you need to look out for guma flight scams, bayenzani ba imitator brand. The major brands that we know, they imitate those ones. They usually put up ama prices that are too good to be true, lauma offers, you know. And then when it comes to holiday accommodation scams, what they do, bayaguma gu internet, right? Batate I website existing holiday place by letting up a gu website yabo yogu scammer. And then they do what? They require full payment. But to secure your space, you need to pay full payment. Leyonje, it must be a red flag gu.
Kuchanje ofisi ye-National Financial Ombud NFO ngamafuphi bisombulula isikhalazo somthengi obethwe ngemfiphindiwe. Oku kusemveni kokuba elandele intengiso yamatikiti enqwelomoya athi ndithenge nawabone kumaqonga onxibelelwano.
The NFO recently investigated a case where a consumer lost 120,000 rand after responding to a social media advert offering discounted airline tickets. After submitting their phone number and email via a link, the consumer was contacted via WhatsApp and was requested to download an app from what appeared to be the Google Play Store to access promo codes.
Emva kokuba lo mthengi elandele imiyalezo engene ku WhatsApp wakhe nemkhokhelele ukuba adownloade i-app ethile khona ukuze akwazi ukuxhamla kula maxabiso aphantsi, kuthe kanti unikeze izikrelemnqa ikroba lokungena kwi-banking app yakhe.
Though the link appeared secure, the app was fraudulent and embedded with malware. Shortly after installation, the consumer's device began to malfunction, and upon viewing their banking app, discovered unauthorized transactions on their account. The compromise originated from the consumer's interaction with a fraudulent third party and an app embedded with malware capable of remote access and biometric simulation.
Ngelishwa ke uxanduva luye lwawela kumthengi nanjengoko inguye odownloade i-app ethe kanti yeyomgunyathi. Ziziganeko ezikumila kunje ezenze ukuba abe-South African Fraud Prevention Service basungule iYima app eza kuba sisithintelo esinganceda abathengi ukuqinisekisa ukunyaniseka kwewebsite ne-app phambi kokuba umntu afake nayiphina inkcukacha yakhe kuyo. Abathengi bayalumkiswa ukuba bavundle phambi kokuba umntu azifake emgibeni onokukhokhelela ekubeni alahlekelwe yimali, ingakumbi ngeli xesha leholide. Nobathembu Zansi, Yilungelo Lakho.
All right, sibonge kakhulu kwintokazo Nobathembu Zansi ngalo mbika sididiyele wona mbukeli. We now cut through the noise and expose the tactics of cyber criminals right to how they get to empty your bank account without you even knowing. Yebo mbukeli, sikhuluma phela ngobugebengu obenziwa ngalento ebizwa i-internet, lokho abathi i-cyber noma i-digital scams ngalesi sikhathi samaholide. And to help us with our discussion, let's extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Johan Brouwer from the National Financial Ombud Scheme, or an NFO, alongside Ms. Nazia Karrim yenake ukhulumela Southern African Fraud Prevention Services. You've seen her multiple times, and we like to have her specifically at the beginning of the year and also towards the end of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure. Johan, let's start with you since it's your first time on the show. A very good afternoon. Welcome to the show. A brief about what, just remind our viewers what it is that you guys do as the NFO.
So the NFO is a independent body that's been established to resolve complaints that financial customers have against the financial institutions where they receive products and services from.
Like your banks.
Yes, like a bank, like a insurance company, or a non-bank credit provider. All
right. Nazia, welcome to Yilungelo Lakho. It's been a while. Now, I want to get a very quick response from you. What do you make of what happened, what transpired within, of course, our victim within our insert?
Sure. Right now, I think it's a bit crazy that things are going on like this. You can't actually trust anything that you see. And that is something we need to actually develop within ourselves. When you look at a particular item, when you look at a particular offer, do you actually take the time to perform the due diligence and check to see if it's being legitimate? And if we are not actually implementing that in our daily lives, that's how we're actually facilitating the problem.
Johan, I also want to get a comment as well as official remarks. I know that, of course, as the NFO, you've recently also sounded the alarm specific to scams as well as fraud incidents that spike, specifically when we're approaching the festive season. Please elaborate, sir.
Yes, so I think definitely at this time with your Black Friday, your Cyber Monday, the festive season coming around, consumers are in the mood to spend.
Yes, there's bonuses, there's stock files, there's all sorts of money.
And the need to spoil your family and things like that. You want to spend. And so fraudsters prey on consumers with fantastic deals that are too good to be true, and deals that are going to expire right now. To create a sense of urgency to make consumers spend at that time. So it's important, I think, from the NFO side, that consumers plan. Don't plan what you're going to spend before you're going to spend it. Don't make unplanned spending. And then an informed consumer is a safe consumer. Banks typically will always have current trending scams on their website. Go onto the bank's website and look at those scams. Read through it so that you understand what are the tactics that the fraudsters are going to be using, that I don't become a victim of these type of scams. And then again, another thing that we like to say, if it has to be now, it has to be no. If there's a sense of urgency that if you don't pay this right now or do this right now, that is a red flag. And rather than take some time, do some further investigation before you agree and make and spend and do that purchase.
But I mean, when you speak about unplanned spending, to me, Johan, I'm that person who's like, okay, cool, maybe I need to do quick upgrades or emergency. I'm thinking emergency things. But for a normal consumer that has extra cash in their pocket, like you said, wants to spend on their family, they're not going to think about, you know, maybe I shouldn't go to specific places or even go online. So how do you advise this consumer that has loads of cash, they don't even know what to do with it, that they're just going to start going online shopping, something they don't even have any experience with prior?
So I think then it's important, if you're going to be doing that, make sure that you're going on a legitimate company's platform. Don't go on social media and click on links that appear on social media, or you might receive SMSs or WhatsApps from purporting to be from a legitimate company with a link in it. Don't click on that. Go onto a trusted website and then make your purchase that way rather. That's one way you can stay safe. You
know, I'm glad you brought the social media aspect, because I actually got a message on my phone from a number that I've never seen before, and I've got Truecaller. I checked yesterday, Nazia. So this one says I can now get, SASSA is now giving away groceries to all beneficiaries. And I'm thinking, when have I even applied for a SASSA grant or grocery beneficiary packages? So this was one of the first red flags that I realized, you know, there's something off here. And I immediately, of course, blocked that particular number. So Nazia, I want us to talk about the malware, because this particular victim actually downloaded the app from the App Store, but it contained malware. We're going to take a quick ad break. When I come back, I'm going to open the lines in studio and participate and be part of the show. SMS athize noma ama WhatsApp, hey, ningake niwathinte ningakakhulumi nami, siyabuya emva kwaleli khefu. Welcome back. Izindingo zethu ke njengoba ngikuthembisile ngaphambi kwekhefu sezivuliwe, ungasithinta ke nawe ube ingxenye phela yohlelo ngokuthi usishayele ku 0117140671, alternatively 0117140672. ungasithumela email or WhatsApp kuqala ku 0608449857, usithumele email ku consumer@sabc.co.za, or like our Facebook page. I'm actually looking at some of your Facebook messages, but let me quickly reintroduce you to my guest, Ms. Nazia Karrim, SAFPS, the South African Fraud Prevention Services, alongside Mr. Johan Brouwer, who is from the National Financial Ombudsman. So mbukeli sikhuluma ke ngama scammers, digital scammers to be particular, njengoba sekuzo December ukuthi ba busy, njengoba nithatha imali zenze ze stockfela niholisana nenza yonke into, babhekene ukuthi nikhele kanjani, bazonithumela ama SMS ama WhatsApp banitshela ukuthi na imtitilizo gijimani mungakhokhi futhi namhlanje futhi niyaxwayisa abantu bakithi lezi za ku social media, stop trusting zonke izinto enithola ku social media. All right, let me quickly go to your Facebook messages. Joe Mangria says, last week a fraudster hacked our respected neighbor's WhatsApp and sent messages requesting money to be deposited urgently to a registered FNB account. But now Capitec wants the victims of this fraud to open cases at the police station before they can reverse their monies. Is this fair to the loyal customers who have been scammed? So we just apologize there for Uguti. We actually did mention the names, but obviously at this stage, this is just an allegation. Is there anything we can assist them with, Nazia, in this aspect?
Well, the first thing we need to remember is that when the customer is actually, or should I say in this case, the victim has actually received that particular message, it means at some point their device was compromised. They have had their device, they've clicked on some link, they reacted to some message that could have come to their actual device that gave the scammer the ability to hack into their account. And it afforded them the ability to send out that message to their contacts, to their family members, requesting that information. I think it's one of the most common tactics that's actually used by a scammer is to play on your contacts in your family.
Impersonating
I need that money.
you.
I'm in an emergency. Can you please help me out? And you being kind, you wanting to help the person out, will react to that particular response, and you'll make the payment, only to find out in the end, you know what, Alicia, I didn't send out that message. It's not me. Unfortunately, the financial institutions do need to follow a legal process that does require a police case to be put in place before refunds can be made. But they can actually assist you in preventing any further of the loss by making sure when you find out that you have been a victim, you immediately report it, call the contact centers, phone, inform them that you have actually been scammed, that your device has been compromised, that your bank account, that money is moving out of your bank account, or whatever the case may be in the situation that the consumer is actually paying money into a fraudulent bank account, and they will have to action it to prevent any further loss from that perspective.
And Johan, we spoke about this before we actually started the show, and I asked you specifically who then takes or assumes liability in this instance where, of course, somebody impersonated someone's details and faked multiple transactions, like we understand in the case of Joe.
So unfortunately, in these type of circumstances, it's going to be the person who made the payment. There was no involvement from the bank in that payment being made.
So they can't make the excuse that I thought because it appeared as if it's the bank sending me the specific message.
No, no. In these circumstances specifically, it will be a message from someone asking for money, and you made that payment voluntarily. The bank wasn't involved. But as Nazia said, it's important the minute that you suspect that this is fraud, you must report that to your bank immediately. The bank will immediately, upon you reporting that this payment was made as a result of fraud, the bank will immediately have to take steps to try and recover as much money as they can. Yes, there is a requirement that you need to then go to the police and report a case and get a case number. But that doesn't delay the bank taking action. They would have already taken action. It's just a requirement for that process to be concluded that you give them the case number and the affidavit from the police.
Nazia, I want us to go back to our insert, our victim on our insert as well, because if you remember, we had to go to break before I asked you this, because the fraudulent app that was embedded with malware was actually downloaded from a reputable place, a Play Store. Tell us how then the Yima app can assist customers to check whether an app or link is actually legit, and for the benefit of consumers who've not even heard about it, how do they actually familiarize themselves with it?
Well, SAFPS involved ourselves into the actual scam world. How do we protect our consumers? How do we protect you from actually becoming a victim? So we implemented the Yima solution about 3 years ago. And in this solution, we created what we call the anti-scams toolbox, the consumer's toolbox. And within the toolbox, there's a device called a DNS scanner or a browser extension if you want to download it onto your device. And you can actually use this particular tool to check for any vulnerabilities on any links or websites before you actually enter it, before you download the information. It'll tell you whether or not there's something malicious going on. Please stop, don't go there. Take time to think and revisit your decision. But what's more important, I think, is Yima is creating the awareness about it. It's showing you what the red flags are and how to actually react to them. We need to understand, though, there is some form of responsibility that we need to take. The device stores, the mobile application stores that we have, they may be trusted by us and our different entities, but it does not mean that it prevents a malicious application from being loaded onto those devices. Your responsibility as an individual, you need to make sure that you check who the developer of that application is. Did you read the terms and conditions? Did you understand what permissions you are affording that application to your device? Did you give them the right to be able to access all your information, how to use it, how to process it, where to send it? If you didn't do these things and you downloaded the application onto your device, you could have actually installed the malware, as in our insert, and in that case, fall victim to a crime that's actually resulting in you giving away full access of your device to the scammer, to the fraudster.
You know, we're gonna delve deeper into this because I was actually just checking a SABC report that has just been released on AI-powered scams. About 65% of it, they made up 65% of all banking fraud, with most cases there, Johan, it says actually involving social engineering rather than system hacks. So I want you to unpack this, but I want to quickly go to the callers and take Tsinapi from Mpumalanga. Tsinapi, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the show. Singakunceda kanjani namhlanje kwilungelo lakho?
Hello, sisi kunjani?
Ngiyaphila sona sami, kunjani wena?
Ngiyaphila, lana ne-problem khona umuntu wangifonela nge-27 Agasti wathi we-time bank wangiconfirmisa i-ID yami. Ngase ngiconfirm i-ID yami wasithi-ke nakuzongena ama-message athi OTP number athi ngibona lama OTP number wabathatha imali yami kanjani. Yes.
Okay, so uthole i-message kuphi sithando sami ku-WhatsApp bathi confirm i-ID number yakho, bebethi eyani le lokhuzana, bebethi kumele uyiconfirmele for in le ID number yakho?
Wathi-ke na ufuna ukucheck ukuthi nini umnikazi wale account ye-Penbank.
Wathi ufuna ukucheckani?
Wathi-ke nifuna ukucheck ukuthi le account eyami yini.
Oh, okay. Wena leso sitola bethu ufona kusona uyasazi?
Yebo, yena wathi ufona from Penbank.
Oh, okay. So wamnikeza i-ID wayiconfirma wathola i-OTP kwase kwenzakalani sithando sami?
Wathi-ke na ngimbizele le OTP number ukuthi ngingamnika waphinde kwangena enye wathi ngiphinde ngimnike wathatha leyo mali yami agcina senginami nge-time bank yami.
Hayibo. Okay, so ungene kwilokhuzana kwi-account yakho after nje umnikeze i-ID naleyo OTP?
Yes.
Okay, ibhanki lithini sisi mawulitshela ukuthi sekwenzekele ngxaki?
Bathi-ke na ngibe wrong ukuthi ngikonfirmele lo muntu i-OTP number yami bese ngingayishare naye. Ngathi mina utheke imisebenzi aku-time bank bathi angilinde inyanga for uku-appeal abaseda bathi uyadecline.
Okay, so abakakulungiseleli namanje?
Isola bakangiseleli.
Okay sis, all right, ngicela ulalele lapho sisicina phi kumabonakude wakho sisokuphendula uma sibuya kuleli khefu. Mbukeli, we're going to take another quick ad break. Siyabuya nempendulo kasisicina shortly after that. Now if you have a similar issue, please usithinte emva kwaleli khefu. Stay tuned. Welcome back at 011-714-0671, 011-0672. Consumer at sabc.co.za is our email address. Number 0608449857. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi i-EPM la ibithe sinawo ilokhuzana bright eye namhlanje. TJ, are we able to read some of those messages from WhatsApp? Okay, it seems like we do not have those messages from WhatsApp. I was actually hoping to take some of your questions from WhatsApp because sikhuluma ngendaba ebalekile namhlanje. Mbukele ukuthi sikhuluma ngama scams, specifically ama digital cyber scams njengoba sekuyisikhathi phela sika Christmas. My guest today, the lovely Miss Nazia Karrim from the South African Fraud Prevention Services, alongside Mr. Johan Brouwer from the National Financial Ombud. So I've explained to you the gist of our victims question during the break. Johan, is there anything that you want to advise her?
So firstly, a bank will ask you from time to time, or financial services providers will ask you from time to time for some information to confirm perhaps your ID or your address or something like that.
Telephonically?
Yes.
Okay.
But they will never ask you for confidential information, such as an OTP.
Okay.
So they will never ask you for an OTP for your digital banking access credentials, for your CVV number on the back of your card. So the minute that you receive a request for something that should be confidential, like an OTP in this instance, you know you're not dealing with a legitimate financial services provider, and then you hang up immediately and call your bank and say, someone is attempting to do fraud on my account, please assist me. In this case, what seems to be the customer gave the OTP to the fraudsters,
Yes.
which then enabled them to do some fraudulent transactions on her account. When she contacted the bank, they would have placed a hold on her account or on her card to stop any further transactions from going off. Then there would be some sort of investigation that took place, but it cannot take a month. So in this case, I would need to find out more information about why this month period of an account being on hold. But yeah, typically a bank would take some action to try and prevent further transactions from going off of your account.
Nazia, I mean, I wanted to talk about one of the most alarming trends, of course, is the rise of artificial intelligence-driven scams, which actually make fraudulent schemes even more prevalent, more sophisticated. And we were just talking off air before the show started that it is basically impossible, if you do not have a trained eye, to distinct between the original logo versus the impersonating logo. So how do we get around this conundrum? Because not everybody is tech savvy, and you and I always stress this point. But as I was saying, if you're going to use your phone, your laptop for anything, you need to arm yourself with this knowledge. How do we advise these people?
I think the first point is that we need to understand that the technology is being abused. And we are using this technology right now without actually understanding the implications of it. You are sitting on ChatGPT, you're having conversations on OpenChatGPT about your entire life. Maybe you're doing it out of fun, but you know what? That information is now becoming public information.
Yes, somebody's collecting that
Somebody's
data.
collecting that data. Somebody's going to use that data. I think the first thing you need to understand is when you engage with these types of technologies, do you understand what you are giving away? Take, for example, generative AI, something we're all quite familiar with right now. And we go about wondering, oh, it's such a great tool, such a great technology.
We're getting lazy to think.
We're getting lazy to think. And at the same time, it's giving the scammers the ability to exponentially increase the number of attacks that they can actually put out there.
Yeah.
They're using the technology to create spoofed websites. And they're using it so efficiently that they are creating websites faster then we can actually take them down. And that is creating one of the actual problems we're having.
That is actually concerning.
And you as an individual, we all love machine learning. It's ML is a new keyword. Everybody goes a buzzword about AI, ML. Very good. Let's take a look at what it's doing. It's actually mimicking your behavior. How do you use your device? The angle at which you use it, the speed at which you type, the time of the day that you access certain applications.
The diction that you use, the type of words.
The words that you do. It's imitating you, and it's going on to those actual applications that you do want to interact with imitating you. So that when you log into those applications, it looks like it is in fact you. So these are the types of technologies that we are engaging with. And are you taking the responsibility when engaging with them in a safe and secure way? Those are some of the things we need to think about. These are just some of the ways that it's being abused. And it's taking time for us to actually look at ways that we can actually secure ourselves.
Johan, I mean, what is the NFO doing about the rise in terms of AI-related type of scams pertaining to, of course, your financial industries in South Africa?
So as an NFO, we deal with individual complaints, but we do also have a mandate to pick up trends in the complaints that we do receive.
And advise in terms of policy, are you able to?
Yes, so then we will engage with our participants, the financial services providers, and work out the best ways for them to deal with those type of scams, and then also speak to government and the regulators to put in place the necessary laws and regulations to try and come to terms with this rise in scams that is affecting the consumers. On the individual complaints that we receive, each one we investigate thoroughly and try to establish what is the best outcome in that case. If there's any way that we can see that a financial services company is responsible ultimately for that loss, we will ensure then that the customer is refunded. But in the majority of these type of cases, unfortunately, the weakest link in the chain is the customers that are giving away the information, allowing access to their digital banking profiles, for instance, and ultimately then the fraud will lie, the loss will lie with the customer.
All right, let's quickly go back to the lines again and take Lwazi from Cape Town. Lwazi, a very good afternoon to you. Siyakwamukela ohlelweni, singakunceda njani namhlanje?
Sisindibengxaki apha ndityele imali esihlanu ophelileyo sekupha ko-2,500.
Askis, Dad.
Umntu ondifoneleyo uthe kum wakwa-MTN inamba yam ka-MTN lendifowuna ngayo iwinile kwicompetition ka-MTN 8.
Okay.
Bandikhohlisa ke ngokundisendela imoto, ipolo emhlophe, igrosari ye-4,000 ivoucher, ibe inethini, washing machine, ibe fridge. So izinto ke abathi ke ziphuma ke xa uwinile inanika inamba yam. So le namba yam bathi perfect inamasolidangele abasebenza ngatsho kanjalo. So i-top 10 ilento zam for inamba yam. Okay, injeni koko ke ngokuba ndindlela zonke ke izinto zakwa-MTN uba mandiselekte up until ndifikisa kwindawo ye-one voucher apho bathi mandiyithenge nge-300 okokuqala, then ndibanike ezo namba zobe zivelile after ndiyithengile ke. Baphinde okwesibini bathi ke ngoku bathumelela imoto yam ke so aba bantu baphalanda kwaFidabula bafuna inantsika imali because uFidabula imoto itraki zokuthutha imoto ziphelile, so bade u-AA ufuna ke ngoyena i-2.5 ndayisenda loo mali leyo. Ekugqibeleni nxa bethi ke ngoba bazothumelela, I mean bathi mandithumelele ii-details zam zebhanki ku-ABSA ngoba laa 200,000 esecaleni endiyinileyo nathi u-ABSA ufuna ukundidiphostela. So bathi ke ngomashuthe ikhadi lam both elakwa-ABSA ndibanike. Kulapho ndiyibone khona uba siskam because zonke ezi mali bandifunayo ndithi mabathathe kule bathi ndiwini abafuni.
Okay, so ugqibele ubhatale malini Tata uLwazi to labantu abebekufonela?
Ndibhatale 2,500.
Okay, all right, and then ibank yona iyayidisputa ithi ayiyibo abakufonele ngale competition?
Kanje bandifonele kwabo bantu bethu abasebhankini bazondifonela.
Okay, so ugqibele wenza ntoni Tata uLwazi ke ugqibele wishiye njalo nje?
Ndigqibele ndibabhloka kwiWhatsApp wakhona nezo number but zikhona ke efowunini inamba ebendifonela ngayo.
Okay ke tata, ngicela nje uzibeke kanjalo and ngizawucela ipermission uba ndinikeze igesi zami i-details zakho uba bezokwazi uba bakuncenge tata. Enkosi kakhulu. That was uLwazi calling us from Cape Town. Bukeli sizomphendula emva kwaleli khefu. We're back shortly after that. Stay tuned. I'm back. My studio guest today, Ms. Nazia Karrim from the South African Fraud Prevention Services, alongside Mr. Johan Brouwer from the National Financial Ombudsman. In numbers zethu la studio mbukele 0117140671, alternatively 0117140672. Ungasishayela futhi usithumele iWhatsApp ku 0608449857. I can't read your WhatsApps though today. Email address yethu ayikakashintshi for the past angazi iminyaka emingaki, maybe 15-20 years. It's consumer@sabc.co.za. All right, mbukeli sikhuluma ngama-digital or cyber scams, particularly ngalesi sikhathi sokuthi bayazi abantu ukuthi ave ninganaki, nifuna ukuhambe nigrosa, nishopha, nidonsi uqueue yey'ngane, anibhekile nokunibheka ukuthi banishaya ama-scam. So siyanicebisa-ke namhlanje ukuthi iziphi izinto ekumele uzigade futhi uzibheke njengoba nizobe niphethe imali. All right, so I explained the question from Lwazi Shame. He's another unlucky victim. Johan, what can you advise him? What can he do at this particular stage? I did ask him for permission that we can get his details so that you have more information as well as access to him should you need to.
So firstly, I think that he must go back to the bank and make sure that they open a formal complaint. They need to follow the payments, the money, where did it go to which account, and then they need to see, is any of that money still available? I suppose because of the timelines, most likely not. But that account needs to be exited from the banking system so that it can't be used to defraud any other customers. If he doesn't get any joy or he's not happy with the response that he receives from the bank, then he's very welcome to lodge a complaint with the National Financial Ombud Scheme, and we will investigate and see, and then give him feedback as well on his complaint. I think Nazia also mentioned something about that YIMA can also help.
How can they assist,
Yeah.
Nazia?
So he could have actually reported the incident online on the YIMA platform, and the contact numbers that were actually contacting him. We can actually look to have that associated with the MNOs, to take the number down, to block the devices that are associated. This is actually going to prevent other consumers from falling victim to the same scam, and from the scammers continuing their scheme, and further creating more victims in the scenario.
Awesome stuff. So but lwazi ngiyacela baba ukuthi uye lapha kuyima bayakhona ukuthi osisi Nazia lapha SAFPS bakwazi ukuthi bakusize ngale ndaba, njengoba wena usenazo lezo inamba othi uziblockile, mhlambe bangakhona ukuthi bakusize. Ngizoyidlulisa ke information yakho njengoba bengicelile. Johan, I asked this question earlier about who then takes liability, and I think you answered me, but let's talk about this common thread or thread where we're finding that a lot of consumers are getting a sort of reluctance from the banks to actually, help them or assist them instantly when they actually realize, even though it's not necessarily the bank that was at fault, it's the consumer that allowed for this information to be extracted from them through, well, not being careful. But why can't banks then just react the minute you bring a problem to them, and also raise the alarm that if you're getting such and such calls and texts and messages, send it to your customers?
No, so banks owe all of their customers a duty of care.
Absolutely.
And in that duty of care, when I come to you and I report fraud, it's of utmost importance that the bank actions that immediately,
Absolutely,
as fast as possible, to try and mitigate your loss. So they must take every step that they can, timelessly, reasonably, to try and recover the funds. So even if you made that payment voluntarily, thinking that you were investing money, for instance, and you then find out that you were a victim of fraud, the bank must take all steps available to them to try and recover as much money as they can. So in fact, in the NFO, the majority of complaints where we make findings in favor of consumers and make awards against banks that they must pay funds back to consumers is in this space, where there's been a failure on the bank to act timelessly to mitigate the customer's loss. So, I mean, it is something that we address on a daily basis with the banks. And they also have obligations in terms of a number of regulations and codes of conduct that they need to act timelessly. So my suggestion to a customer would be, if you report something to the bank and they don't take any action, come to our office so that we can investigate that matter and see whether or not there was a possibility of the bank recovering money for you. If there was that possibility, we will make a relevant recommendation that you be refunded that money that could have been recovered.
Just as a side note, I'm not sure, Nazia, maybe you can also jump into this. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with the fact that we've just been removed off the grey list, right? And the fact that they did announce, South Africa did announce, Treasury, that there were reforms that they had to enforce or basically implement in order to ensure that they can actually track money laundering and such other crimes. So why are we seeing a reluctance in terms of then government at a high level from Treasury? I know it's not related to you guys because you implement the policy from above. So why does it seem like these reforms are not coming in fast enough to ensure that if you can see that money is being removed from a person's account fraudulently, or you can see there's some fraudulent activity, but you still let it persist? What can consumers do there? How do we demand accountability in that aspect, Nazia?
Well, definitely John's right. The NFO is one of the places you have the right to go forward and say, I'm not actually being serviced in the way that I'm supposed to be serviced. But on the side note, you need to also take into account the amount of change that's required from a legal perspective to help facilitate this process is huge. But there has been efforts being made. The new ECT Act that's coming out, the changes with the laws that are actually helping fight back the crime. We are making those efforts in terms of it, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
True.
It is a long-term approach. It requires collaboration between the various institutions. It requires collaboration between the public and the private sector, as well as the community itself, to give feedback into it. So as much as we'd like to say overnight, we're going to be able to put in a solution that says stop fraud here, we need to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. It is going to be a long, drawn-out process, unfortunately. But in the meantime, there are tools and services available for you online, for example, like the one we spoke about on Yema.
Yes.
But there are also information hubs that you can go to get help, should you need that help. You need to also be responsible in coming forward and reporting the crime, because that's actually going to help drive the process. At this point in time, only 20% of the incidents are getting reported. And if it's not prioritized because of the volume, we are not going to get the priority to be able to push
There's
the
not enough
regulation
data,
forward.
so basically it's not an emergency. All right, thank you for that, Nazia. I want to quickly go to the lines once again. Mandisa from Etsakane. Siyabonga Mandisa for staying on the lines. Singakunceda kanjani namhlanje?
Hello, kunjani?
Siyaphila sisimandisa, kunjani wena?
Ngiyaphila mama. Mina ngikhola from Etsakane.
Yebo sithando.
Last week Wednesday ngithole i-call umuntu obethi ufona from a Nedbank. So wangibuza ukuthi ngi-aware ukuthi kune mobile contract deducta imali from account yami. Yes, so ngabatshela ukuthi no, angiyazi mina lento. Ngithi iqale nini? Bathi iqale last year February.
Bathi le app collector iMasisimandisa bathi le app collector ini imali yakho ebank kanjani?
Yes.
Bathi collect ukuthi isabi?
Bathi baya debita.
Oh, ba debitelani because kumele isho iyavela kuma statement mu bheka.
No, ngiye ngabafonela eNetbank, ngidrope iphone immediately, ngafonela ebank ba-checka ke ku-statement bathi ngivule nami i-app yami. Ngithe mangi-checka bengibuza ukuthi ama-debit orders amaphi, ngawabiza wonke ama-debit. Wathola ukuthi le ayishoyo lo muntu ayikho.
Okay.
But okay, mabuya lo muntu lona or ngisuspecta something futhi ngifonele kwi-fraud department.
Okay.
Ebusuku ngalelo langa lelo ngithole i-message from MTN. Ine number different. So it's kune SIM swap ekhadini lami.
Okay.
If akusiyimi engiyenzele yo SIM swap, bacela ngistyle *31 and 000 zama numbers.
Sisimandisa ngoba sophelelwa isikhathi sithando sami ekugcineni ugcine sekwenzakaleni wathola le request yeSIM swap ya?
Cha okwamanje angakayenzi iSIM swap. Lo muntu ugcine the following day sekangena kwi-account yami ethatha ilento ekhipha imali ethenga ama-data ama-airtime. Ngezwa abangani bami ama-contacts wami sebathi kunemali kunomuntu oclaim ukuthi yimi obathathela imali ofonelayo obatshela ukuthi Mandisa ngicela ungiboleke 1,000 rand and then zokunikeza kusasa ngoba ikhadi lami liblockile.
Okay, all right Sisimandisa, asishiye lapho ntokazi because unfortunately we're out of time. Bukeli sizomphendula uSisimandisa emva kwaleli khefu. We back shortly after this. Ungayindawo. Bukeli, it's our final segment. Very quickly, ngisahleli no Ms. Nazia Karrim from the South African Fraud Prevention Services alongside Mr. Johan Brouwer from the National Financial Ombudsman. Basiza ke Bukeli ukuthi basicebisela ukuthi iziphi izinto ongazenza ukuthi ugade against ukuthi uskemiwe. Siyazwa ama SMS nama WhatsApp ayangena kuthiwa in musana ukupressa izinto mekuthiwa pressa lana uzothola ukuthi nokuthi awuqala ufonela ibank umtshale lo uthi akabambi mekuwukuthi or uthi akaphinda kufonele after 5 minutes ufuna ukuconfirma nebank. Aniyekeni ukuthi nibe lazy guys ngemali yenu. You need to be proactive and ensure ukuthi you verify every phone call. Umuntu angavana thatha ifoni nje usekubuza ID now uyamnika uyapress 1. No guys, let's be very careful. So Johan, Nazia, in closing very quickly, I'm going to let you have your say. A very quick one for Mondays. What can she do in this instance? Johan, very quickly.
So she's going to have to lodge a complaint with the bank, give them an opportunity to respond and advise her how did this happen on her account. And if she's not happy with the response or if she's not refunded, then she can lodge a complaint with the National Financial Ombud Scheme and we will investigate. I think as well she needs to, if she hasn't done it yet, she needs to report this to her mobile network provider as well to understand how did this SIM swap happen on her number.
And she says she's still using the number, but this is the catch, Johan. She never actually did the SIM swap. She still has the request, but her information, personal information, even relatives and friends are saying that she's now asking them for money.
Yeah, so clearly her identity has been compromised in some way. So she needs to report it to all the players, the mobile network provider and the bank and to the police, and then let the investigation happen.
Right.
And as I said, if she's not happy with the outcome, then she can report it to the National Financial Ombud and we will investigate it.
Okay. Nazia, a very quick one, closing.
I think from your original insert, I actually wanted to say that a part of the process we're actually looking at is we're working with international global players to take down those mobile applications that are coming through with the malicious intent on it. So what's more important is you need to actually come forward and report those incidents. If you come across it, put it on, and hopefully we can see what we can do about it from our side to take it down. And for you to be able to stay safe, empower yourself with the knowledge that's available on YIMA and use the tools that's available and stay safe during the holidays. That's the only way you're going to be able to work around technology that's being used as a weapon.
Absolutely. Well, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for this enlightening engagement. That was Ms. Nazia Karrim from the South African Fraud Prevention Services alongside Mr. Johan Brouwer from the National Financial Ombudsman's Office. Mbukeli, we have been live to you from our studios today, Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Musani ukuba budedengu nephakethe lenu nemali yenu. You've been working hard all year for le mali. Musa ke ukuthi uyekele umuntu ovela ngaphandle bafethu igadeni lento yeyinamba ongazazi ukuthi uvana uqukula ucingo ulibambe uliphendule uphinde ulandele ama instructions ngo Alisho Nonhlanhla kaJali. Nisale kahle.